Stop using church intimidation, control and manipulation. Jezebel and all them spirits fall back, not trying to hear it. Go with Jesus, walk in peace. On your pew can sit that beast that we're fighting in the world. I'm that JC Supergirl, Jesus Christ, belt of truth, arm of God, I'm slaying you. Power of the word, two-edged sword. MC Heaven rocks for her Lord. Thought they crept in unaware, didn't see the gatekeeper standing right there. Not getting down with your tactics, undoctrinal practice.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome again to the Crystal Jones Show. It's the show that's all about life's balance. We greet you in the name of Ahaya Bahashem Yeshaya Warawak. Thank you again for tuning into the show. Let me let you know how you can watch the show on a weekly basis. Every Saturday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on bronxnet.org, channel 951 and 2137 on the Inspire channel. Also, please go to my YouTube page and subscribe to my YouTube page. Like my videos and please share them. Also, you can catch me on Instagram. Usually I have daily quotes from the Bible that are very encouraging. Also, you can catch me on HebrewConnect.tv. All right. Today we have a special guest. We have Kiala Crawford, who is the what they call the Prison Rape Elimination Act in New York City Administration for Children's Services. So she is going to be our special guest today. And we met her at the Her Story program that we had at Queens back in March for Women's History Month. So we are going to bring her to the platform today, and you're going to meet her, and we're going to hear what she does in her capacity. All right. So welcome to the show, Kiala Crawford. Thank you for being a part of the Crystal Jones Show today. We talk about a little bit of everything on this show.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. It is Saturday, right? Who want to just talk about work, for the whole time? So that's fine.
Exactly. You'll hear a little, sometimes you hear ministry, you hear a little bit of everything here on this show. So thank you for being a guest. I do remember meeting you at the Her Story program that we had in Queens in the month of March of this year, 22.
Yes.
We have for Women's History Month.
Yes.
So I remember the panel discussions that we had with all of you that were there sharing with us. And you all had some very great things that you're doing in the communities that people that aren't even aware sometimes that you're there or that you do these type of things or that these type of things even exist. So that's what's very enlightening, about, I would say, what they would call the prison arena.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. A lot of people think it's just this drudgery of just locking people up or that kind of thing.
Right.
There's so much more that goes on behind the prison system. So tell everybody what it is that you do and, let everybody know who you are.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday on this cold Saturday here in New York City. My name is Kiala Crawford, and I am the Executive Director for the Prison Rape Elimination Act, also known as PREA, for the New York City Administration for Children's Services. So I know most of you are probably saying, well, children's services, what does that have to do with jail, right? So just a bit backstory. I started my career working for the New York State Department of Corrections. I was a correction officer for over 11 years. I left state corrections. I went to go work at Rikers Island as a compliance manager, which is a civilian role in the field of PREA, which is the Prison Rape Elimination Act. And then now I work for the Administration of Children's Services, but I am I'm in charge of the oversight program for PREA for their detention services. So most of you may know about Horizons and Crossroads, and I am the person that oversees the implementation and the everyday operations of PREA, making sure that our kids are safe from sexual abuse and sexual misconduct within our 2 detention facilities and our close to home facilities. I know some of you are saying, well, what is PREA? Or you may have heard it in the news. So what PREA is again, the Prison Rape Elimination Act. And it was put in place back in 2012 to ensure that all incarcerated people, again, are free from sexual abuse and sexual misconduct, right? Just because you commit a crime and just because you are sent to jail or prison doesn't mean that you should be abused by anyone, right? So we have a zero tolerance policy in our New York City jails and our New York State jails and in our children's facilities for that type of behavior, whether it's staff against the detainee, resident, or whether it's resident against resident in this case, or detainee against detainee. And there are measures that are put in place to make sure that everyone is safe. We talk about how you can report incidents if they do happen. Who do you report to? Again, how do you keep yourself safe? But more importantly, we implement the federal standards so that we can have an audit. And when you have an audit, of course, you want to get 100% right and let everyone know that you're doing the best you can in your facilities and in your arenas to make sure that all people are safe from sexual abuse and sexual misconduct.
Okay. What made you like go into this area of, in your field? What made you go into that area?
So honestly, Crystal, it really like just fell in my lap, right? So like I said earlier, I was a correction officer for 11 years. Like around year 7 or so, I was like, my son was going into middle school at that time. He was going into middle school at that time. And working in this, when you work in the field of corrections, you see a lot of different things. And we, at the time we lived in Bushwick, Brooklyn. And I just said to myself, I know that I'm trying my best to lay a good foundation, but I also know that the streets sometimes has a better hold on our young men and young women. So what can I do to make sure that the streets don't get a hold of my son while I'm working, to make sure that I'm paying his tuition at his private school yet, right? But he still has to get on the subway to go to school or walk through the neighborhood. And I made a conscious decision. I said, you know what? I need to go back to school. I need to finish my degree. I need a regular job, like a 9 to 5. So that's what I did. I went back to school. I went straight through, finished my bachelor's, got my master's. And in the meantime, I just kept applying to different jobs, And this position almost, again, like I said, to me, I feel like it fell in my lap. A lot of people are like, what do you mean by that? So it was maybe about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I saw the position online on nyc.gov. And I was like, all right, I'm going to apply. And I was like, well, I'm a correction officer. They're not going to give me a job on Rikers Island because I'm an officer, right? They're probably biased, toward folks like me. And lo and behold, I got called for the interview. Same mindset. They're not going to give me the job. They're just trying to fill a quota. Went on the interview, met with the deputy commissioner at that time and the assistant commissioner of PREA at that time. And next thing you know, I got a phone call. It was like, Kiala, we want to offer you the job. And I was like, like, what? Really? Like me? I didn't say that to them, but in my mind, I was like, what? Really? Me? This is really happening? I'm leaving corrections. But more importantly, again, I was like, all right, now I'm going to be able to take my son to school, maybe pick him up, get him involved in some extracurricular weekend activities. And that's how I, started my career path outside of corrections and into everything else.
Wow. So with dealing with the children, because I've heard multiple, stories and things about dealing with child services. People say a lot of time that is very dangerous because the children, I guess, with neglect and stuff like that, it's a very hostile environment. What is your take on that whole arena of, with the children's services?
Well, like any job you work, you're going to have, when you have people that have experienced trauma in their lives, it is expected that you're going to deal with different personalities. Dealing with the kids, to me, dealing with the young people, I'm not going to say kids because we have 16 to 24-year-olds in our custody, but dealing with the young people, you almost got to have like a little swag sometimes in dealing with them, right? But it also helps for me coming from the same community that some of the young people come from. I come from the same community, right? So when I walk in a housing area, I'm not walking in a housing area with my head up high that I'm Miss Crawford and I'm the ED of Priya, I'm walking in with concern. What's going on? How's everything going? What are you guys watching on TV? Did you listen to the new, song that's out or whatever? Or, I heard this new song. Can you tell me a little bit about this, a little bit about that? And when you build those good relationships, I think with the young people, it makes it easier for them to communicate with you. When in my personal opinion, when you don't have that background or you really don't understand where they come from or some of their traumatic experiences, that's where we begin to have a disconnect. So even with my staff, I always talk to them and let them know, just because these are kids, we are not too far removed from where they are. At any given moment, our lives can change and we may find ourselves on Rikers Island, right? So when you're in these facilities, just think about how you would want someone to treat you or treat a young person in your life if they found themselves on the other side. And that has worked for me, even in my career in corrections. I've always treated, everyone with respect. Just because you wore a different color uniform from me doesn't mean that you deserve to be treated any differently. And it's the same thing with the kids. I noticed that, like I said, when you are just kind of like just yourself with the kids and you're not too aggressive with them and, I'm the boss, you get a lot out of them. And you'll be surprised, a lot of our kids that are in our custody, yes, they may have committed a crime. They may have been in the wrong place at the wrong time. But a lot of our kids are very, very smart. Very, very smart.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I could even bring that into ministry. You know what I'm saying? Because even dealing with the youth, as far as whether it's their choirs or their dance ministries or things like that, they're looking for you to be able to relate to them. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because they're a different generation from my generation.
Absolutely.
So that's the same approach that I use with them. I'm not coming to make you sing some way back in the day songs, even if I may combine it with it so that you can learn.
Yes.
But I want to know what's going on with you, because what's your message now? Within the churches or ministries and things like that. And that does work, because they know that I'm not there to try to make them some old person or something like that. Right. I want them to enjoy their youth and to express themselves, and I'm here to just, help it to move along.
Yes,
smoothly,
right.
What I mean?
We just want to guide you, right?
Exactly.
And sometimes we got to do that, like that reverse thing, maybe, if that's what's going to work, then that's fine. And it's the same thing with parenting, right? I have a 17-year-old. So, I was telling my significant other the other night that, parenting does not come with a book. So you learn as you go along. And the older your child gets, the more you begin to, some of us begin to realize that what may have worked when we were growing up doesn't necessarily, especially now, does not necessarily, work, for them. So like in my household, we have a free speech household, right? So my son is able to express how he feels. But when I was growing up, it was just like, these are the rules. This is what it's going to be. But over here, I'm just like, how do you feel about that? This
right.
is a decision that's going to be made. Like, do you have anything to say? And he's like, okay, this is how I feel. I don't think that you should do this. And then at the end, I'm either going to say, well, too bad, we're still going to do this. Or, you know what, you're right, we're going to try it, your way. So and it's, like I said, it's the same approach with dealing with young people. When I see these young men that I work with, I'm looking at my son.
Right.
I'm looking at my nieces. I'm looking at my nephews. Right. So, I'm not Auntie Kiki at work, but I am Miss Crawford who really understands.
Okay. Do you find that they feel a little comfortable? Do they feel like comfortable coming to you about those things? Like maybe they have been violated and that type of thing, and they kind of need to get certain things off their chest about it, because you can kind of tell with young girls. I could kind of see by some of their actions or even some of their conversations. I could kind of tell that there's something agitating them in the background that probably they would really want to talk about, but they may be afraid. So they're kind of checking you out like, well, can I be myself and let you know that I have been raped? This has happened. That has happened. Even with the young men at the prison where I'm at, you know what I'm saying? There's certain things you can kind of pick up. So, do you find that, as far as, with you dealing with the young people and things like that? And is there a way that you deal with it?
So I do find, even when I worked in Rikers Island DOC, I do find that people are very comfortable talking to me. And again, it's because I don't go in with this I'm the boss type of attitude. I don't look at myself as an oppressor again, because like I said, at any given moment, our lives can change, and I can go from wearing this beautiful shirt to, being in Rosie's or something like that, right? I'm a mom. Anything can happen, right? But I do feel that with the young people, that they do find themselves very comfortable talking to me. And although we really don't get a lot of allegations about sexual abuse, they feel comfortable talking to me about anything that's going on, right? Miss Crawford, I'm going back into the GED program. Oh, Miss Crawford, I got an award for something. That's great. And I'm there to cheer you on. And that's a part of the work that we do in PREA. Not so much that we want you to tell everything, but we want you to be comfortable when you're talking to staff, not just me, but all staff that are in the building, right, about what is going on or anything that's making you feel uncomfortable. So even, like I said, even when I worked in corrections as an officer, I didn't have any issues really with detainees. And right now the residents coming to speak to me. I think I'm a very personable person, but I also know that there's also a thin line, right? So let's not cross the line. If it's something that has to do with you being here in custody, let's talk about that. I'm all for supporting you with going to school and your art drawings, listening to you do your poetry, all of that stuff. But just don't, cross, the line, and we'll be okay. We will be okay.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. They have to have some type of respect, which we have to, we have to build with them, that they know that we're trying to show you to be respectful to us, but at the same time, we're not telling you that you can't talk to us at all.
Absolutely.
But there's a way to talk to people. There's a way, to present yourself and that type of thing. But we are here for you.
Absolutely.
So, what would you like to, see going forward, in this area?
So in this area, what I would love to see, I would love for PREA it's already on a national platform, but here in New York City, I would really like us to, hone in on how we can keep people who are incarcerated or people who are vulnerable safe from this type of behavior. I would love for one day for us to be able to have a conference where we have folks come here to our beautiful city, right? And, we have different panelists and speakers. We give away, we call it swag, have different resources for people who not only work in the field of criminal justice, but maybe even combining it with folks that work, in corporate America, right? How can we keep people safe? How can we be in tune, right? How can we talk about trauma-informed care? Because that is huge. And we're seeing that now, especially in our community, people are becoming more open about their feelings around mental health. And all of this, again, ties into the work that I'm doing at the work that we do, the work that we do at the New York City Administration for Children's Services. So I would love to see this on a huge platform. I would love to one day maybe sit down, with Mayor Adams and talk about, the different ideas that I have for PREA and how we can move this forward in, not only our local facilities, but also in our statewide facilities, which we are doing a great job. I know state facilities are like 100% compliant, but I would love for New York State to really be on the map for PREA. On my side work, I do PREA audits. I get to travel all over, and you go into these facilities and you see the different things that they're doing. I'm like, wow, I want to bring that back, to New York City. Like, how can we, do this in the facilities that, we work in? How can we get PREA coordinators together for like a PREA coordinators convention? That type of stuff. I don't want to go too deep, because the viewers might see this and then they might take my ideas. but I'm hoping that a viewer sees and say, hey, we want to tap in. That's the kind of things that we're trying to do. How can we connect also?
That's awesome. That's awesome. I would really, like to definitely, see that happen. Our young people deserve a chance to, flourish and do
Yes.
all the great things that are instilled, within them to do. I'm glad for the work that you do. It's just awesome. It really is awesome. I'm glad that there are institutions that are no longer just turning the head or pretending like this doesn't happen, or trying to like put the kids in a corner and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh no,
Because
we have posters all over the facility. We have different telephone numbers. We have different ways that you can report. We're always doing trainings. I actually just, not just, but in 2019, I wrote a grant proposal for the Department of Justice, and I was able to secure about $200,000 for us to implement PREA in ACS. Right, so a part of some of the funding is going to be used to create a new orientation video for the kids, right? That they can understand, right? And we were going over it the week before last, and some of the lingo that's in there is like some of the lingo that we hear them use, right? With all due respect, right? So it's like,
right,
what's going on, brother? What's going on, sister? You're looking kind of flea. The kids say flea when we used to say fly or dope. They say flea, right? And I was just excited that the ID was like, I kind of know what's going on, Miss Crawford, and this is really going to capture their attention. And I'm looking at the storyboard and I'm like, I love this. I can't wait for the commissioner to see this. I can't wait for the kids to see this, because I know that they're going to look at this and say, you know what? Even though I'm here, I know that I can talk to people, right? They're trying our best to make sure that, we're safe. The kids, we are as kids, are safe. And then I carry this work into I'm also an adjunct professor. So I also carry the work into me as a teacher, right? So when I'm teaching criminal justice, I also talk about PREA, because we have a lot of students that want to be correction officers, police officers, so I kind of tie it all in together, because y'all gonna learn about PREA. Y'all gonna know that PREA is here and it's real, and we are trying our best to keep people safe.
That's good. I mean, it sounds good that you want to put that into criminal justice, with your teaching, because you're a professor at
I teach criminal justice and human services at Monroe College.
Oh, at Monroe.
Yes.
Okay, Monroe in the Bronx.
Monroe in the Bronx. So right now I'm strictly online right now, but I started out in the Bronx on Jerome Avenue, teaching criminal justice and human services, and now I've transferred into their online program.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Yes. A lot of our young people seem to they seem to gravitate towards criminal justice as of late. The
past couple,
yeah,
as they should.
Definitely. It's needed.
Yes.
I sometimes talk about how it's nice when within your neighborhood, you can see people who are in the criminal justice system, so to speak, that look like you, that will come when something goes wrong, because they know how to say, hey, bruh, what's going on? Like, this might not be the way to,
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of them being just thrown into jail or whatever.
And believe it or not, it works. It works. And again, too, which is one of the reasons why I got into to be an adjunct professor, right? Because I always thought about when I went to school, a lot of my professors, I went to John Jay, but a lot of my professors, they looked like me. So when I stepped in the classroom after being out of school for 13 years, and I saw a female professor, a Black female professor that had dreadlocks and she had braids, when I walked in the room, at first I was nervous, but when I saw her, I was like, okay, this may be a safe space, right? I may be able to go to my professor now, talk to her, and let her know that not only am I a full-time student, I'm a full-time mom with a full-time job. I'm not looking for any, leeway, but I just need you to understand what my circumstances is, right? That so if I turn in something late, or if I can turn in something late, these are the reasons why. I have a full-time job that I'm leaving here to go to, right? And then I have a son that I got to go home to, and all of that stuff. So it made me feel very comfortable. And when I saw that, I excelled in school going back after 13 years, of being out of school. My grades were great. And I was like, you know what? I want to give back that way. I would love to be in the classroom and give back, to students in that way. And my students, I have really good relationships with my students. They love me. And again, because I'm not too far removed from where they are, and I understand. I know what's going on. Like, I have a couple of rules in my class, right? No excuses here. We don't do excuses, right? And everything here is earned. Nothing is given. so they know from the door. But I have 2 students right now that are going through the process to become correction officers, and they're like, Professor, thank you for your guidance. We appreciate that, and that warms my heart. That makes me feel good. That lets me know that I'm doing God's work.
Yeah, I hear you. And like you said, it's something when you can see someone who, definitely looks like you, because even in my neighborhood, if something goes down and then I see people come to investigate it and they knock on my door and they look like me. You know what I'm saying? Because then they understand where we're all coming from, and they could bring us together. That's what I like that they do. If something goes down, they will bring the people together to
Yes.
sit down and talk about it and come up with reasonable, you know, uh,
Solutions to what's
solutions.
going on.
Yeah, rather than, it kind of, aggravates me when I saw like the little boy that was 8 years old. I think I reported on that a couple of weeks back, and what angered me, I think, was that the cop was even trying to put his own people against him.
Right.
Saying that,
He stole the potato chips, or he took something out the store.
Yeah, he might come to your house and steal from you, and these guys were just saying, he's 8 years old, I'll pay for the potato chips.
Right.
Not even knowing this cop doesn't look like us, so he's not even knowing this little boy's hungry.
Right.
More than likely, he's hungry. This is an area where whoever even owns property here, if you own a store or something like that here, you should know that these children are hungry, because their parents are probably working 2 and 3 jobs but making very, very low amounts of money.
Yes.
So this is what you're dealing with. So why would you call the cops on 8-year-olds?
Right. Right.
It doesn't make sense. When I was growing up, the adults came together for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that happened within our communities, there was Miss Martha or Miss So-and-so, they gonna come downstairs and what's going on.
And the neighborhood person, the person who owned the store in the neighborhood, they knew you.
Exactly.
Right? So even if you did go in the store and you did put a bag of chips in your jacket or your pocket, they knew enough to say, Crystal, you want me to call your mother?
Uh-huh.
Yep. Right? And I'm gonna let you take them chips this time, but next time, or you know what, come back. Or you know what, maybe I'm gonna tell your mother, because now you're gonna come out here and sweep the store, in front of the store as a message.
Right.
Right. We were very familiar, with one another. And again, as I said, this worked for me, especially with the kids. Again, I am the executive director, but when I walk into those facilities, when I walk in those housing areas, I am there in the capacity of the ED, but what's really going on? Let's talk about what's going on. Let's sit down. Maybe what game are you playing? Again, what's the latest music you're listening to? Because it's, you have to be relatable. You have to, everything is, to me, isn't always about the authority. Right. We spend so much time on the authority and being oppressive. And, after working in corrections for so long, I realized that that's not how I want to be. I want to be different. I want to try my best to be a change agent. And it can happen. It could work. But, like we were saying, in the community, most of the time, everybody knew you. Like I said, Miss Margaret, Miss Walker, they looked out. They knew that if you were a latchkey kid, you felt safe going in the building, because other kids were latchkey kids, but more importantly, there was always somebody home, and just keeping an eye out. It was less about getting you in trouble and more about teaching you the lesson of, how to be respectful and what not to do.
That is so true. That is so true. Is teaching you that lesson, because whenever I, come across the youth in the facilities, that's my goal, is to try to get them to understand reason. Sometimes they may, talk to me about what they want to do next, that they want to, they want to go back home, but they don't know what they want to do. And I'll ask them, well, what do you really like? So they may say, well, while I was here, I was cooking in the kitchen and I kind of really liked that. And so, you say, well, did you know you could be a chef? And I remember one guy, he was so shocked when I told him that. He said, like, I can? And I was like, yeah, I said, there are programs here for you that you can get, your licensing to go ahead and work in hotels and things like that. So getting them at least to kind of see that, and even the ones that they may share with me that, they have children, but their attitude is, but they're with their mother. So I'm like, well, who did God give those kids to? He gave them to you too, right? Those are your children. So even if you gotta work at McDonald's for a minute,
Yes, yes.
you know what I'm saying? You do so until you can do better.
Yep.
And then you don't look at it as you're flipping burgers. Look at it as next year you can be the manager.
Yep.
After that, you may be able to buy into the franchise.
Yep.
Stop looking at everything as just mundane. You're
And it's
here.
honest. And it's
Yeah,
honest. It's an honest living that your kids can see.
exactly.
Right?
Even though you're here, you're incarcerated and you're cleaning the walls, you're cleaning this, that. You can start your own cleaning business. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? And I think they have to start thinking outside the box, because when I'm talking to them, they're looking at me like, wow,
Yep.
they never really thought like that before, and to know that people who are working there are for you. When I look at them and I'm like, wow, these kids are young, I really want to see them leave here and be better, way better, so that the children that they do have can even say, well, I remember at one time my father took a left there, but when he came out, he was going right.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So, I take it as a ministry too, to, really minister the right thing into the incarcerated so that they can move on from here and become productive citizens in society and reach back and help the others.
Yes, yes, yes. I agree with you 100%. A lot of times they really don't know that although they are, incarcerated, that in your facilities there are tons of resources to help you to re-enter back into society. Whether it's like you said, to go into school, to get a license to be a chef, learning how to start your own cleaning business, all of that stuff. And sometimes, all it takes is someone like you or me to let them know, like, you could go to the program area and speak to, the counselor and let them know, this information, and they'll be able to assist you further. And I think once they understand that part, once they step away from their pride, because pride has a lot to do with it sometimes for our folks that are incarcerated. When you're just used to doing things one way, or something is looked at as, they call it corny, but you realize that that's not corny. Earning an honest living, you begin to see change, right? When you want to see different, you begin to see, change. So I'm glad that they have someone like you, in those facilities to talk to them and encourage them. And that's the same road that I'm on too. I want to encourage. I want them to be different. Again, like I said, when I see the young sisters and brothers, I'm looking at my son, my nieces, my nephews, my godchildren, and I just want nothing but the best for them. We are entitled to make mistakes. I even tell my students, I'm human. Right? I'm not perfect. Yes, I'm the professor, but I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, right? And I understand. But you have to recover, from your mistakes, and understanding that a lot of it has to do with, in my opinion, the upbringing, right? Again, I come from a strong American household, right? But there were so many things that my mother and my stepfather and my father and my stepmother taught me, but then there were so many other things that they didn't teach me. And I was just telling my son last night, I was saying, when I was in school, I remember long story, but in my first school, I remember wanting to run for like a Miss College or something like that. And I didn't get chosen, but I didn't know how to recover from being rejected. But now that I'm older, I now know that you can recover from being rejected. It's the same thing with our folks that are incarcerated. Yes, you made a mistake. You're here. You may be able to get a second chance. This is how you recover. You recover by doing this. You recover by doing that. And you go back into the community and you just be better. You don't have to be labeled as this person just because you're here right now at this moment. So I think a lot of what we see and what's going on, again, has to do with the traumatic experiences of what they may have witnessed growing up, good or bad, right? Good or bad things. And then learning how to recover once you have been rejected or been in a different space.
Yeah. And I like to get across to them too that So a lot of them, like you said, of what they've experienced. Also, a lot of our people sometimes don't even know that they're probably dealing with dyslexia and things like that. So they're afraid to say, well, Miss Jones, I really don't read that well,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't, and I, would love to, let them know that if that's the case, let us know, because we'll sit down with you and teach you how to read.
Yep.
That ain't no problem. I'll come with the flashcards, like, and all of that. We'll help you. If it's dyslexia you're dealing with or something like that, let us know. We will get somebody here to sit down with you so
Mm-hmm.
that you feel comfortable in learning and going into a classroom, because I think that's a part of it too. A lot of them probably never finished past maybe 6th grade or something
Yes.
like that. And even in 6th grade, because a lot of our schools are very challenged, they don't really teach our children how to read and write anymore. Like when I was growing up, it was totally different. They sat down with you. I remember my 1st grade teacher, she was an African woman,
Mm-hmm.
and she would sound out the words. She had like a book, a SRA book, and she would make us sit in a group, sound those words out. And it started with the small little words, and she would build and build and build and build till we were just in the group, just we was reading. We were reading, and she was relatable to us because we were doing so well with the reading and stuff. After we finished the reading and whatnot, she would say, okay, we're gonna get together, we're gonna do the Soul Train. And we would go,
Making education fun, making it fun, right?
and
Because
she made it fun.
we are not robots.
Everybody was watching Soul Train back then, right? So we would be doing the robot and all that kind of stuff, but we were learning.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So I look at, teachers that I've had from way back when, that, that the dynamics of how they taught me different things that got, piqued our interest. So if we got to do that same thing at our facilities, then so be it,
And in the
because
classroom too, right?
yeah, in the classroom, because we have classrooms there. So, it's nothing to go to our DEP or our superintendent and say, hey, there's a whole group of people from the orientation group that are, they're dyslexic, or they're this or that. And the facility will get the help, as and us also, taking a part and doing with them and helping them to, move along further, because once they leave our facility, we want to hear good things. We want to
Yes,
know
we do.
that
Yes,
they
we
went
do.
on to do great things, not that you're a repeat, person. Which I remember one time I had to tell a young man that, because he was like, oh, I don't need no help. I'm getting ready to leave anyway. Blah, 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 blah. So I said to him, I said, so you telling me I'm going to see you again, huh? And he looked at me like, oh my gosh, like maybe I better
Yeah.
shut up
Yes.
and learn something,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm trying to tell you something for your good. I wasn't talking down to him or anything, but I think he was just so caught up in himself that he wasn't hearing what I was saying, while his friend was saying, she got some good stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
Sit here and listen to what the things that she has to say. She has some things that, so if somebody your age is telling you that I'm talking some jewels, I'm
You might
dropping
want to
jewels,
listen, right? You might want to
yeah,
listen and
sit
get
down
these
and
nuggets.
listen.
Get
Yeah.
these nuggets. Yes, that's not going to get the nuggets. Here's the nuggets. I'm only going to give you 5 or so for free. That's what I tell my students. But the rest y'all going to find out. But here's some 5 important nuggets, right? So,
Exactly. So, but I'm so glad to see, persons like yourself, in this field doing this type of thing, because we really, really, need that. Because again, a lot of the incarcerated are our people.
yep.
And so we have to be the ones that are definitely concerned about it, and, willing to help put a stop to it. Maybe we won't be able to save everybody, but shoot, if we can make a difference in, like, a huge amount of difference, I'm happy about that, because we're not a what could I say? We're not a ignorant, foolish group of people.
No.
And I wish that our young people knew that you know, our existence didn't start here in America. It didn't. At one time we ruled kingdoms and things like that. So if they would even, you know, I try to sometimes elevate them on that you think we started here. No, we didn't start here. We are people that are known for intelligence.
Absolutely.
You know, we build kingdoms and dynasties and all of that kind of stuff. You know, shoot, at one time we ruled Europe for almost 1,000 years.
I agree with you 100%. A few years back, I took a trip with the African Village out of Brooklyn. We went to Washington, D.C. So we went to the African American Museum, but we also did a walking tour with Dr. Anthony Browder. And on that tour, and I'm grown, right? I think I know a little bit of history, but we went on this walking tour of DC, and he talked with us about where we came from, right? How we came from Africa and Egypt and the buildings that we build. And he was showing us some of the structures. I'm pointing my hands up in the air, but he was showing us the structures and saying, and explaining everything. And I was so moved by the walking tour. And then COVID, of course, happened, and I haven't had an opportunity to go back again. But whenever folks go to DC, I'm always like, look up Dr. Anthony Browder, get his books, if you can, take your kids, because there's so much rich history about us that we don't even know about, right? We just know about, what they taught us in school and Dr. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, and those stories are great. But we're talking about before time.
Yes.
Right? Do you understand that, it was because of us that this is why we count the way that we count, and, all of that stuff. So, when we, like you said, to talk about our history, and like you said, this is not where we started. We were the kings and the queens.
Right.
We were the foundation. And I believe sometimes that if our young people, not even our young people, at an early age, if you were taught this stuff, I think as we move along in life, we would look at things a little bit differently. I'm big on education. I get people say it all the time. College is not for everybody. I disagree with that statement. Some of my friends and I, we go toe to toe about it. I disagree. If we really understood where we came from, we would know where we need to go right now. And in order for us to get to where we need to get to, and I think in my heart, in order for us to see the changes that we need to see, it really starts with education.
Yes.
It starts with education.
That's true. We have to educate, our people, and at least letting them know where we came from, because a lot of times when all they see is here, they feel despondent. Like, is this it? Like they think that everybody else is above them because they don't know our history. They don't know where we came from. They don't know what we did before this. They don't know how in 1619, when the ships came here, with our people as slaves, there was some telltale signs of who we were, even with the names of the ships. The names of the ships, some of them said Tribe of Judah. So just that alone lets you know that we were a hidden people, that, we are the people of the Bible. A lot of us, we were the ones that were the first Christians and things like that. We were taught a different way once we got here because it was to keep us enslaved. But truth be told, the Christ that they taught us here really is the Christ that looks like us. And they didn't want us to know that.
Yes.
Because then that would be telltaling about them. They didn't want to face their own realities of what they had done to us. But when we realize that, it even tells you in the Bible, sometime in my lessons, I go back to the book of Acts, where it says that we were called Niger. Niger is black. We were the black Christians in the Bible because Christ was black. All right. So he taught us, his gospel and things like that, on back to Abraham and them. When you look up that Abraham was a Chaldean, Chaldeans were black people. And so he was given that promise of who we would be in all throughout the ages. Okay. And so he was the one that was separated to become a Hebrew. And
Wow.
so the whole thing about how that got distorted and what we're told today of who they would say today are, Hebrews or whatever, that type of thing, that's basically that split between Esau and Jacob,
Mm.
you know.
You have to
So
go back and do some reading.
yeah, some reading on that. We're Jacob's children. So that's why really Jacob's children, remember his son, one of his 12 sons, we're the 12 tribes. One of his sons was named Judah.
Okay.
So you could only really be a bloodline Jew if you're from Judah. Other than that, Esau more became the European nation because he forsook the ways of the Hebrews and he hid in the different uh, groups of people. So the most that they could really claim themselves to be would be Hebrew. But the promises that God gave Jacob were for us, the 12 tribes, us being Judah, the Negroes. The Dominicans are uh, the uh, the tribe of Simeon. The Haitians are the Levites. You have the Mexicans are Issachar, the Hawaiians, the Fijis, the Vietnamese, the Filipinos. They are the tribe of Issachar. I think it's Issachar. I'm sorry, Naphtali. You
Mm.
know, you have Manasseh, the Cubans. I think is Manasseh. Ephraim is the Puerto Ricans. All the 12 tribes are the people that we know of as people of color.
Oh,
We're the 12
learn
tribes.
something new today.
And we're not lost, we're just scattered because that was the prophecy. If we didn't uh do as we were supposed to under the laws, statutes, and commandments that God had given us in the Bible, because he didn't want us to be like the surrounding nations around us, because we were the ones that were supposed to bring the people to the true worship of the Lord. So being that a lot of our people were fooled by the Romans and all of that kind of stuff, we got scattered. So that's why we look different now. You have the different groups of people, and but we're the 12 tribes, and all of that is starting to come out now with, like you said, the museums and all of
Mm.
these different places are letting you know that everything that you were told, because I can remember my father telling me that as a child. He was saying, the reason that I left the church, he said, I couldn't deal with the pictures of the European man that they call Christ. He said that didn't make sense to me because Israel's in North Africa. So that awakened me way back. And then my mother's sister telling me about our ancestors that she had people charged for. I was like, wait a minute. We've been really lied to like crazy.
Oh, then you would definitely enjoy if you ever get an opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. And I don't know if you're familiar with him, but Dr. Anthony Browder, you would really enjoy his work because it is right along the lines of what you're talking about right now. And like I said, you
Yes.
have the opportunity to meet him and everything. And like I said, anytime anybody's like, I'm going to Washington, D.C., I'm like, well, after you go to brunch and you party, check out Dr. Anthony Browder's walking tour, right? And you'll come back and you'll just be different. I want to do it again. I
Yes.
wanted to do it before my son graduated because he's going to college this year, but we won't get an opportunity. But I plan on, my significant other and I, we plan on going back again to do the tour.
Well, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming today. This has been very enjoyable because, like I said, this is a topic that is not really talked about enough. With Priya, our young people, our history, everything is all intertwined in together. And so we like to thank you for the work that you do because it is very much appreciated, but it's greatly needed. Because,
Thank
like I
you.
said, I see all of this as a ministry. I don't think it's just by happenstance that we landed in these areas
Right.
of working and things like that. I think it's a ministry, And I think, eventually these things will bring our people full circle, to bring us up to where we're really supposed to be. But
Absolutely.
if anything comes up that you're doing, any new things or whatever, just let us know. And you could come back as a guest and talk about it here on the Crystal Jones Show.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's all about balance here. We talk about a little bit of everything.
And that's what I like. I like that.
Yes, yes, yes. So thank you again. And we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you for having me, Crystal. It was a pleasure meeting you back in March. This was a great conversation. I would love to be back again. If any of your followers want to follow me, I am on social media on LinkedIn underneath my name, Kiala Crawford. If you have any questions about PREA, me coming to speak at your school or anything like that, please feel free to reach out. And everyone have a great, safe spring, summer, if we ever get to spring, because it's still winter. But it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
UNICEF Kid Power is offering free online dance and exercise videos with a twist. Kids stuck at home can get active and save lives locally and around the world. Sign up for free at unicefkidpower.org.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting.
And even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together,
we should still make an effort.
To get to know each other
on a deeper level.
Father,
cosplayer,
mentor,
actor.
It's time we take a step forward.
Come together
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our next segment, which is our missing children. All right. The first person that we have is Antana Joshua Allo. All right. She's been missing since March 21st of 2022. All right. She's missing from Poughkeepsie, New York. She's a 14-year-old female. She's Hispanic. Her hair color is brown. Her eye color is brown. Her height is 5 feet. If you know anything about her disappearance or you have seen her, please report it to missingkids.org and your local police department. All right. The next person that we have on our missing children's list, we have Elizabeth Hooper. She's been missing since May the 2nd of this year, 2022. She's missing from Albany, New York. She's a biracial female. She has brown hair color, brown eye color, and her height is about 5'4". If you see her or know anything at all about her disappearance, please report this to missingkids.org and to your local police department. All right. The next person that we have is Simone Fleming Clark. Right. She's been missing since April 28th of this year, 2022. Okay, she's been missing from Pleasantville, New York. She is a Black female. She's 15 years old. Her hair color is black and her eye color is brown. She's about 5 feet 7 inches tall. If you know anything about her disappearance or you have seen her, please report this to missingkids.org and to the local police. All right. And the next person that we have from our list, we have Tyrese Brown. He's been missing since March 22nd of this year, 2022. All right. He is from Dobbs Ferry, New York. He's a Black male. He's 16 years old. His hair color is black. His eye color is brown. He's about 5'3". If you see him, you know anything about his disappearance, please report this to missingkids.org or your local police. Okay, now we're going to move on to our health and wellness segment. All right, and we just want to encourage you. You don't have to take off too much too soon as far as your clothing. Some days it's warm and some days it's cold, so you have to be careful of that. because if you're taking off too much and you're going outside with shorts and stuff like that, and then by the nighttime it's cold, you could catch a cold like that. So you don't want to make yourself sick from, dressing inappropriately for the weather. All right. So don't take off too much too soon. So don't pack away your winter clothes just yet, because there's a whole lot going on with this weather situation. So you don't want to be caught out there. All right. And the next thing we're going to cover is our business tips. If you're a talk show host, or, you're doing anything as far as television or podcast, bring new talking points or new content to your platform. Whatever it is, if it's a podcast, if it's a television show, if you're in some type of dance ministry, bring something new, within that particular realm. Always try to bring new content, new talking points, new dances, whatever. You always need to refresh and do something new. All right. So that's it for our Missing Youth, Health and Wellness, and Business Tips portion.
There was a time in my life where I was extremely homesick. I decided that I needed a pet. When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. He jumped up and kissed me and jumped right into my arms. I immediately went up to the volunteers at the shelter and said, I want him. He's got to come home with me. Not anything but lonely. Every day with Turtle is a perfect day and keeps me company when I'm doing schoolwork. I like it when he jumps up on the table too. He is a veggie thief. He's an incredible companion and my best friend. Can't say that I've met anybody that doesn't love him too. When I adopted Turtle, I discovered all the things that make him unique. He's a little bit of a lot of things, but mostly he's all pure love.
We are about to wrap it up for this segment of the Crystal Jones Show. I thank you all for tuning in. We had our wonderful guest, Kiala Crawford. Share this information with everybody. Go to my YouTube page and like it, and let everybody know about it. Want to let you know again how you can watch the show. You can watch the show every Saturday evening from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on bronxnet.org. That's channel 951 and 2137 on your cable channels. On BronxNet, I'm on the Inspire channel. If you go to bronxnet.org, also go to my YouTube page, join the page, subscribe to it, like and share my videos so that people can enjoy what you're enjoying here on the show. All right. Also, you can check me out on Instagram at The Crystal Jones Show for my inspirational Bible quotes, and also at HebrewConnect.tv. All right. You could always write me as well at thecrystaljoneshow@gmail.com. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you again for joining in. God bless you. God keep you is my prayer. And I tell you, Kwam Yasharallah, Kwam, rise Israel, rise. Our time is here. It's not just coming. It's here. We will rise again. And thank you all for joining. God bless you. God keep you is my prayer. And you stay balanced. Stay balanced.
Stop using church intimidation, control and manipulation. Jezebel and all them spirits fall back, not trying to hear it. Go with Jesus, walk in peace. On your pew can sit that beast that we're fighting in the world. I'm that JC Supergirl, Jesus Christ, belt of truth, arm of God, I'm slaying you. Power of the word, two-edged sword. MC Heaven rocks for her Lord. Thought they crept in unaware, didn't see the gatekeeper standing right there. Not getting down with your tactics, undoctrinal practice.